What albums in recent years would we induce in the classic catalog of hip hop albums? Now, B, you brought this up. What made you think about this?
The two albums I jammed was Scorpion and Daytona. Those are two albums that I think there would be like staples to me as classics in that modern era. I know people would disagree with Scorpion. Suck one. I don't care. This is how I feel. I just feel like I feel like it's rare now to actually give an album that classic title because it's so much you have. I feel like it's more pressure on the artist now because it's hip hop is 52 now, 51, 52.
I think 50, 51.
Yeah,
Because
so
Nas
it's
Magic came out last year, so 51.
so it's so much history now. It's not easy to reinvent the wheel to come out with something different, to like innovate. You know what I'm saying? Like
I agree.
the biggest we have innovation right now is from Playboy Cardi. Like he's pushing these kids to do some things that we don't like, but some of them we do like. You know what I'm saying? I just felt like if you want to go to albums that actually had some type of impact at that time, and I feel like to me, Scorpion from 2018 was like the most recent I can think of. Like to me was a classic album from like some mainstream artist, and I say Pusha T Daytona, short album, but the impact it had, just the year of hip hop. That album made a statement to me, and it spawned off a wild beef with him and Drake, and then finding out Drake has a kid, and also Drake actually putting out to me a great album as well. To me, also a classic. You know what I'm saying? I know some people won't agree with that, but you think I care? I don't. So I'm gonna say what I want to say. I just believe that now it's like, what are those albums be like for you? I brought two to the front, and I know you made your list. What are the albums you feel that put a staple or like ingrained themselves into that catalog of like classic hip hop albums? Because when you think classic, you think, in modern years, Good Kid, Mad City. You know what I'm saying? My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. You know what I'm saying? Like, what'd be DS2?
So, of course. So, for me, this one was a bit harder
Yeah, it's
because we got to also differentiate what makes an album a classic versus what makes it that artist's magnum opus. We've gotten a lot of great albums over the years, but a lot of them have not been classic worthy or deemed to be classics. So to me, that was the more tougher part about this conversation and about my list, because I'm just like, I like this album. Not a classic though. This album was pretty good. Not a classic though. It doesn't have that impact. Scorpion is definitely one of my ones. From the impact it had, it being pushed everywhere. I know a lot of people, Drake had bots from UNG, yada yada, whoop whoop whoop. I don't care, because guess what? All them songs are still on the radio. You can't bot the radio. There's people that's actually playing those songs on the radio. Yes, Drake was on all these playlists. So what? He was still getting streams. I don't know a single person that doesn't know a single song off of Scorpion. Scorpion is like Drake's biggest album in the last few recent years, I believe.
Like after
Besides,
Views.
yeah, besides maybe CLB, because that song had like 1 to 2 big hits.
But it
didn't
Scorpion
do,
now.
but it didn't do anything compared to Scorpion as a whole body of
To
work.
God Plans and like hits wise, like God Plan and freaking Knife of, not Knife of What? What's the other one?
A God's Plan,
The
Nice
one
for
I'm talking
What?
about with Kiki. Kiki.
Nice for What?
Do you love me?
Nice
That's
for
not
What?
That's not Nice for What? That's a different one.
Oh, In My Feelings.
In My Feelings, yeah.
So Drake, I put that on there, and so for me, I had to make 2 categories. I think we do have some classics, but I only have one for the recent years. But also, I think we have some cult classics, and cult classics are classics deemed amongst like certain people or a certain sector. Be like, this album is that one right there for that sector of hip hop or whatever.
You don't think Scorpion can do that? Be a cult classic then?
No, I think it is a classic.
I know you said you think it's a classic.
I
But you don't
think-
think it could fall into that category?
Of
Because
cult
I
classic?
think if we call it, I think we'll be in a minority calling it a classic.
I think we're in the minority of calling it a classic right now because people haven't really looked at the impact of Scorpion. They're looking at Drake as a person, and the whole beef kind of overshadows that moment of, well, he was hiding a child.
Yeah, because it's the whole. Because you gotta understand, I feel like when it comes to these classics, it's a moment as well. I
Yeah,
feel
I
like the
agree.
moment behind the beef as well adds on to the lure of Scorpion to me.
Like for me, I don't want to say it like this. GNX is not a classic.
Nah.
Because just because it had a huge moment behind it, and it's a good album, but it doesn't have that classic appeal for it. And see, that's why I'm like, you can have a classic album, you can have a album with classic moment, but it doesn't mean that vice versa make it a classic itself. To me, you got to have the impact, and yes, I get it. GNX does have the impact because it has a whole bunch of streams. It's selling really well. But to me, the music itself is not pushing anything forward because it's music that's already been done.
I think with an album like that, it might have to take some time. I'm not just saying it's gonna be a classic, but I feel like in that situation with like, oh, the music is not like super crazy, but it's a really good album. Maybe in time, as it ages, maybe it'll get people won't like it as much anymore, or people might like it more. You just never know. I feel like that album, that type of album, it kind of needs.
Soon?
I think it's too soon for that one. It's not like, to be honest, when you heard
Good Kid, Mad City,
you was like, oh, this is a classic, like, cause you like, yo, nah, this is
felt
classic.
it.
You felt
Pause.
it. Yeah, it's just some albums you hear like, okay, boom, yeah, classic. So I don't think that GNX have that impact.
Yeah. But for me, the one I could think of in most recent years, Whole Lot of Red.
Yeah, I knew
Now I
that.
put Astro World in there because I feel like that was that one. But I'm like, is this actually a classic or is this a cult classic? I'm so confused on that one because Astro World did have impact.
I think it's a classic.
I do as well. But I can see if some people say like, oh, it's not a classic, even though I think it is. It's a great selling. It had a huge moment behind it. The actual concerts and festival, whatever it had for it. Travis Scott became a superstar with that album. That album propelled him into superstarism. To me, not a lot of rappers had that type of album, especially in that long in their career. Because this is Travis's third project. Well, third album. His fifth project. This pushed him into superstarism or superstardism or whatever. Stardom, that's the word. Mine is Whole Lot of Red by Playboi Carti. To me, while it was one of those albums that it was very in the middle when it first came out. I was one of those people that hated it. Because I'm just like, what the F direction are you taking with this, Cardi? I'm like, he's doing a whole bunch of yelling, screaming. I'm like, me at the time, I didn't like rock like that either. I still don't. But there's certain things where I'm just like, what is this? This is just a bunch of noise. I got my old head ears, even though I gave it past the Die Lit, even though I like it more. And I liked Playboi Carti, Self-Titled. So when I heard Whole Lot of Red, I was just so confused. I'm like, what is happening right here? I'm like, Playboi regressed. But B, it took me a while. Years later, I'm listening to Yeet. I'm like, oh, this new kid Yeet is pretty fire. Ken Carson. Oh, he's under Playboi Carti's label Opium. Destroy Lonely. Okay, I like this as well. I'm hearing all these other TikTok artists that are some no names and that'll fade with the times. I'm like, oh, I'm liking this. And I was talking to my friend Sam. He was like, yeah, I like Whole Lot of Red. I'm like, nah, man, I don't like that. I don't see how you like that. I like a few songs off that. He was like, go back to it. And I'm like, it all clicked. Like I said, a few years after Whole Lot of Red, I'm listening to Yeet, Ken Carson, Destroy
You
Lonely.
listen to everything that came from that.
Exactly. It all stems from Whole Lot of Red. I'm like, I did not know the significance or impact that this album would have like this. It created a whole new subgenre in hip hop called rage. Just really aggressive trap drums and music, really loud, rockstar like mosh pit era of hip hop that we're getting right now in terms of sound. And really, it's being made to be performed really loud and with a big old crowd, and they're all like rocking out.
And also, like, the point of this conversation is also to start the conversation of like what's gonna come after in the future. Because a lot of the stuff that's coming out right now, we probably don't look at it as a classic, but as time goes, they might hit that status.
Yeah, because Whole Lot of Red was that one for me.
Yeah.
It was that one that it had the age.
It's gonna be albums that we're like, yo, that was a great album. That probably through the time we probably go back to it. Most people are like, yo, that was something different. And it's probably gonna be like a classic in a way of like you said, not in a way of, oh, the impact it had. It maybe just, this is some really good songs, had a really good concept, but like it made so many others. It influenced so many other people. I feel like like you said for Whole Lot of Red. Like Whole Lot of Red, I like it, but Die Lit is the album for me. I think that's his best work.
You think that's his magnum opus?
I wouldn't even say that because I don't know yet. But I would say currently, yes, I say Die Lit is that for me. But I don't know. I just feel that now, as we're getting older, and like most of we got blog era classics, we got the 2010 classics, and now we in this whole new decade that we're ushering in a new sound, and then we also going through a part of like what is gonna be the standard for like, like when Kanye came out, he like reintroduced in the mainstream, I guess, was like soul samples
with
and
the
stuff
chipmunk
like that.
samples and all that.
So like, what's gonna be the new thing and I don't like in this decade because we're in the middle now. We finna go into the middle. We 25, finna be 2025, and I feel like maybe next year I think it'd be good. Like we made a list this year. I think it'd be great, to visit that list and do some more because we're 5 years. We're gonna be 5 years in of like, the best albums out of this, the half of the new decade. Because like it's gonna be things, bro. That's like, hey man, I think so and so might be a classic. GNX might be one of those. Who knows? You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. Mr. Morale and Big Steppers might be a classic to some. A cult. I don't like
That's a cult classic.
Yeah.
That is a perfect example of a cult classic.
Yeah, I don't know. I just know that the conversation is going to change, especially as time goes by, and like we went from last year being like supposedly a bad year in hip hop, and sales being low and blase, and I don't know. It's just I still feel like hip hop's in a great space, but kind of in a space where like the unknown, in a way.
I think it's I think the thing is, and I told my homie about this one time. Shout out to Ryan from the Blur Mob. He says like, oh, we're in a day and age of like, there's so many bad movies out right now, and all these movies are carbon copies. And I was like, no. I'm like, we're in an age of now. We just see the bad movies a lot now because back then we did get a lot of good movies, but we also got a lot of bad movies that just never made it to theaters. Those are the type of stuff that comes straight on DVD and stuff like that. Now, instead of it going straight to DVD, it's now coming straight to streaming. It's now just being on Amazon Prime. Somebody might find it, might make a tweet about it, and it go viral. To me, in this day and age, we are in a great space of hip-hop. It's just that a lot of people don't really want to do the work or spread the great hip-hop that they listen to. And it's like an echo chamber of they just want to talk about the same thing.
I think it's because back then, blog era was so fun finding a new artist, and I feel like now we got to a point where it's lazy. Where like we let the DSPs do that for us. We have playlists that give you new artists.
Algorithms.
We have the algorithm of like certain artists hit a certain monthly listeners, and they can put themselves in their like Discovery Weekly playlists and stuff like that. That like we don't do the work anymore. Like it's been a long time since I actually like, I found this dope artist. Like I remember finding an artist nobody was listening to and feeling like trying to gatekeep that artist. Like, yes, I'm older now. Maybe that's the experience. Maybe the younger guys are feeling that. I don't know, because I know it's a whole new wave going on in the underground culture of like, all the little Playboy Cardis have their own little thing. And they're like, oh yeah, this guy's the king of the underground type stuff. But I don't know. I just think that we're like going through... We don't want to go through all this mess.
Basically, the essence of digging in the crates is kind of leaving.
Yeah.
Like the crates is coming to us, and it's kind of like suggesting, this is the crate that you should be in.
Yeah, it's pretty much it made us lazy. Yes, people are buying physical media now with vinyl, but it's still more in our phones. Even though you're buying that, you're not playing your records as much as you're playing it on your phone. You're just not.
But also, it's a continuous way to actually pay the artist, even though that takes away the fact of people don't have to buy.
It depends on what type of artist. If it's an independent artist, they're getting more of that. When it comes to like a mainstream artist and themselves, they just pumping out the records. The label are like freaking milking you. First press in here, second. Come on, bro. When did the major labels start doing that? They was not doing that. They pimping
people. Y'all.
They are pimping them, bro. And like a certain someone, I see he getting these connections with different labels, and you know what I mean. And he's helping them. But
is that who I think you talking about?
You know what I'm talking about. But I'm not hating. I'm just saying it's like it's kind of predatory. My opinion.
No, it is predatory. It is predatory because it's preying on your FOMO.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I looked up a list of albums, like the top 150 albums of the 2020s. Some of them that come up, the Black Thought one with a Danger Mouse, Cheat Codes, Run the Jewels 4. I can't see that really happening. Lil Sims, sometimes I might be introverted.
Yeah.
Arm & Hammer, We Buy Diabetic Test Strips, JPEG Mafia and Danny Brown, Scaring the H Words, A$AP Rock, Spirit World, Field Guide, which I never
finished that one.
Billy Woods and Kenny Sego, Maps.
Classic. Well, he said Kenny Siegel.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Marlo 2, Arm & Hammer and the Alchemist Haram.
Yes, sir.
I like that. A$AP Rock, Integrated Tech Solutions. A$AP Rock had two. Blockhead the Ox. This is one of the first projects you talked about on our first What We
For
Been
real,
Jamming.
that's my joint.
I remember this because of
The Ox Court,
the cover. Billy Woods. This list right here has a lot of like underground.
Hold on, what you on? What site you on?
Hip Hop Golden.
Oh yeah. Nah, they super underground.
Yeah, I could tell because
they super
because I
underground.
see a con here.
Yeah.
Not saying that con's bad.
No. I know.
But this kind of like fits.
No,
that
if you
theme
seeing
of, like,
Arm & Hammer, you seeing A$AP Rock, anything
Billy
with
Woods.
A$AP Rock, Billy Woods,
Boldy
like,
James.
they have a demographic.
Yeah. So these are some of the most recent like top 150
You're
albums.
not gonna see like a, excuse my French, but a Travis Scott on there.
Okay, I'm on another list now. Albumoftheyear.org. We got Kendrick Lamar's Big Steppers, Dave, We're All on This Together, Lil Sims, No Thank You, and the Introverted One. Kendrick Lamar's GNX, Arm & Hammer, Tyler the Creator, Call Me If You Get Lost. I don't think that's gonna hit classic status.
I think it will.
You think it will?
That's one I was gonna bring up. It just blanked me. Yeah, that's one.
Why do you think that?
B. What that album did for Tyler. What it did with the Gangsta Grills, putting it on it. Like, bro, it was a freaking moment. That album, like, bro, people.
See, I was absent
like
from
you
that
got,
moment.
yeah, you got old heads that's like, yo, that's my album from Tyler. Like, you know what I'm saying? No, that's one of those.
Freddie Gibbs, Alchemist Alfredo.
Come on, bro.
I don't think it's classic. I think it's like one of those. I think it's a cult classic.
I think it's.
But I don't think it'll be like a hit
You gotta-
level of Pinata.
You gotta understand, B, like what we in now. I think it's hard for us to vision these albums just because we think about all the old albums now, and like we have time with those albums. That album's amazing.
Oh yeah,
Bro, I remember when it came
But you know,
out.
I'm clouded with my bias.
Yeah,
though,
but
so
I
it's
remember
hard for
just
me to say
driving to
that.
go pick up my shoes from UPS when that joint dropped. And I'm like, ooh, they over here killing, bro. That freaking Scotty Beam hit.
That's one with him Rick Ross, right?
Yeah, Scotty. Yeah, man. Bro, Freddie Gibbs is different.
Denzel Curry, Melt My Eyes, See Your Future. I think that's a cult classic.
That's a
Black Thought, Danger Mouse again. Ray Black, Loyal, Tyler Creator, Cornucopia. I think Nas's King of Disease 3. I think that should be like a classic in hip hop in terms of like, look at what old heads could still do.
I still ain't listening.
Like I think it should be on the level of like a 444 kind of.
I don't give him. It's Nas. To me, he's not in that list.
Yeah, but I guess to me,
I haven't listened to that album.
for me, I'm like, okay, Nas, you're showing me that you're still hungry. Like you still like got it in you to rap. Like because even though Nas has a lot of chill, laid back type of like rapping that he does, to me he sounded hungry on this. The beats that Hit Boy was giving him on this, and he only had one feature on the whole album. I'm like, that is so impressive, especially so far in your career. And you make it sound like what you're rapping about sounds so interesting. He says something, I can't believe Pete Rock would act like that. That type of stuff made me want to give hip hop back. I'm like, look what you doing on here. Talking about his memories of him, being from the projects or whatever. Him talking about fame, taking girls out, stuff like that. I'm just like, Nas is really killing it on this album. To me, this is my second favorite Nas album.
Yeah, I never.
Like, first one is the Untitled one because that was my first Nas album ever. But if I didn't hear that one, this would be my favorite one. I love the modern production.
You love that more than Stillmatic?
This? Yes. This is my favorite Nas project besides Untitled. I'm like, the way Nas was coming out here and the way that Hit Boy curated this album for him as well, him talking about his perspective of like him being like beef, like the actual entity of like beef, not like food, but like violence and stuff like that. Him speaking from that perspective, I don't think that makes you do this. Kind of like how he did with the gun.
Yeah, I gave you power.
Yeah, exactly. He does a rendition of that, but like from the standpoint of beef, I'm like, I'm like this, and then the production.
Come
to
on,
me,
Nas, give it up, bro.
To me, this is like his best produced
KD
album.
on the Nets, bro. That's KD on the Brooklyn Nets.
No. To me, this is his best produced album. Easily, I could easily say that.
Yeah, it's up to you.
Like Nas King Disease 3, that is the one.
I listen to that album, bro, and I'm like, come on, B.
B, that's because I'm hyping it up right now. I'm a glad he said it. Nas is one of my favorite rappers of all time. But yeah, that's about it. I mean, Vince Staples' Dark Times.
I love that album.
Do you think any Vince Staples? I think Vince Staples has some cult classics.
We gonna see. It's just I think some of those albums we gotta let it marinate.
Yeah.
It's
It's just crazy because we never had another album after that. Oh yeah, this classic right
That's
here.
what I'm saying.
Thursday,
Yeah.
this classic.
It's hard. It's gonna be hard to do that.
I agree. But yeah, that was a pretty good conversation. But some of my cult classics I had was Doechie's Alligator Bites Never Heal, Vince Staples' Dark Times, and Pierre Bourne Life of Pierre 5. Those are the cult classics.
Okay.
Those are why I feel like, because to me, Life of Pierre 5, that was like everywhere on TikTok at the time when it came out. And for what it did for Pierre in terms of like pushing further into like the mainstream, I think it did it really, really well for him. And Alligator Bites Never Heal for Doechii.
It's a staple.
Yeah.
She made a name.
Man, shout out to Beyond Beats and Culture.